Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my page. It's Stephanie K or Stephanie Kakocha. I usually just say Stephanie K because a lot of people can't pronounce my last name. According to my husband, I'm not pronouncing it correctly also, but I do my best. um, and my husband is from Nigeria, so my last name is not English. And people a lot of times have trouble pronouncing it, so I just say Stephanie K or Stephanie Kakocha. So whichever one you want to use is fine. Even if you butcher it, it's fine. I'll just tell you that that's not right. But anyway, I want to unveil the spirit today about feminism, another touchy topic. I don't know. Sometimes I haven't really gotten a lot of like hate stuff yet. I'm always expecting it to come, but I haven't gotten anything. I know it's gonna come eventually, especially if more people start watching my videos. But it's okay. I am more than willing to, discuss with anybody about some certain things as long as they are respectful. As soon as you get disrespectful, the conversation will cease because I don't do that. So anyway, so I want to talk about feminism, because it's becoming a problem. I really think it's becoming a problem, especially the mentality of these young girls nowadays. Just to give a little refresher, I don't want to go too deep into it, but feminism started. If I'm not mistaken, it was shortly after or around the time of the civil rights era, because after, blacks started being freed and things like that, women started kind of demanding their rights a little bit more also. And they were not being treated fairly. That's no question. So my stance on feminism has nothing to do with women accepting mistreatment. And I think that that's really important because a lot of the times, especially when it comes to men and even within Christian community, it seems like women are expected to expect being mistreated. And even I see so many Christian men that are sexist till I just don't understand why they think God created a mate for them that is beneath them. I talk about this in reason 2 of my book series, and I would like all the men in the world to read it, but it's neither here nor there. But I just don't understand the sexism that's in the church a lot of the time. So I'm not advocating that at all, but and women were being treated unfairly, and they needed to be recognized, and for them to some things to be changed. Some things now still need to be changed. There's a lot of sexist mentalities out there. You have the Me Too movement and things like that. I mean, it's terrible. And so that part of feminism I have no problem with. The problem that I do have with it is that, well, see, this is the thing. Outside of God, God is perfect. So everything he does is right. Not only is it right, it's connected to, everything we do is connected to other things. And that's why what God does is perfect, because he is considering all those connections to other things. He allows things to the way he does things allows other things to exist in harmony because they are perfect. They fit together right. So when we don't do stuff God's way, we get outside of that perfection and we start having a domino effect of catastrophes. It's just what it means to live outside of God's will, because everything is connected. So once one domino falls, the other ones eventually are going to start falling. And so outside of God's will, we identified as women, we were able to identify the wrong, the injustice that was happening. But then without God, our demand of justice took on a life of its own that started to almost go in the opposite direction, actually in a similar direction of the same thing that men were doing to women. And so that's why it's important for us to stay in God's will, so that we can be balanced. First and foremost, so that we can remain balanced human beings. Without him, we're all over the place. You know, too far into one thing, too emotional, too logical, too stern, too nice, we just go all over the place. And so God helps us keep that balance. I talk about this a little bit in a blog post that I wrote about angry Christians. This is when I was still writing. I have started doing videos now, but if you go on my blog and you scroll down, you'll see a post about angry Christians, and I go into the mentality of God versus our mentality. So anyway, so this feminism has taken on a life of its own, and now women are actually doing the same thing to men that they were claiming was unfair to be done to them. You have a lot of women that are so offended by this idea of the sexism that's in the church, at work, in the world, that they become so defensive that they almost turn their identity as women into an idol, because they want to be recognized. They want to be, I don't want to say worship, but in some ways it takes on that in a lesser form. They want you to treat them a certain way and recognize them in a certain way, and they demand it. That is not how God operates. God does not demand that we recognize and treat him in a certain way. He gives us a choice. So once you start trying to violate other people's choices on how they do things, then you already know then that you're going in a wrong direction. But it really takes the wisdom of God for you to understand how to handle that. Not only how to handle that, but how to reach that person's heart for them to understand, to change the way they are seeing things. Those are two totally different things. You can't demand something from someone and change their heart. It doesn't work. So, but if you want to change their heart, it takes a little bit more time, more intentionality, more connecting with that person to get them to change their heart, which is what God does to us, as opposed to demanding something. So that's the first thing about the feminism, this spirit of feminism that I would say that has becoming a problem. Women are demanding that they are treated and seen, not even treated a certain way, but seen a certain way. And when they're not seen that way, they take offense. So that's wrong. Secondly, anytime you are offended as a Christian, that's wrong. You're not supposed to be offended. When you are offended, you are doing exactly what the Bible says don't do, which is that not to see this war as a war of flesh and blood. When you're offended, you are making the other person the problem. You are making this war about flesh and blood, and it's not. It's about spirit. It's about spirit. And so when you tackle things in the spirit, you do them differently. And you can't do that offended. You can't, because if you act in the spirit the way God wants you to, it's always in love, peace, and things like that. Even sometimes if it doesn't look like on the surface, because you can get a little bit aggressive as a Christian, it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Jesus went and turned the tables over. And people, you might say, oh my goodness, he broke the tables, he was angry. It's different, because when God, you can get angry, but it has to be in the right way and the right reason, and not to let the devil contaminate your anger and start making you do things, sinful things, which is very, very tricky. That's why it's important to have a relationship with God, so that he can guide you on the right steps to take and keep you balanced where you should be, instead of tipping into one thing or the other. So it can be very complicated. And so so that's the first thing. Now in girls these days, like in the Bible, one of the mentalities that come from feminism is this idea of competing with men. We are not in competition with men. If you are in competition with men, that goes back to the same thing of making this war about flesh and blood. Men are not the problem. It's the enemy and his minions that are the problem. It's not people. And so we have to look beyond the people and get to the spiritual aspect of the thing and work with God to change that, not just staying focused on the people. And so women become very much in competition with men. We can do what men can do. We want the same rights that men can have. You have these women, same rights that men have, in a sense that They want to play sports with men. They want to wear shirts, walk outside with no shirts on like men. They want to be naked and feel like men should not look at them in a sexual way. This stuff is just really going too far. I mean, the first thing is that the reason why men and women usually don't play sports together has nothing to do with sexism. It has to do with science. Men are most of the time naturally stronger than women. It's just a fact. It's nothing to be offended about. It's nothing to be mad about. I mean, it's just a fact. Men are much stronger than women. Men don't carry babies. We carry babies. So you don't hear men saying, well, I want to carry a baby just like a woman. I mean, come on. We do have separate roles that God gave us to fulfill, and those roles in no way or the other compete with each other. They complement each other, because where we are weaker, men are stronger. What men can't do, we can do. What we can do, men can't do. If we come together and take our differences and merge them the way that they were intended to be, we become a very strong unit. But in our fallen state, people use their differences to compete with each other to say which one is better than the other. Neither one is better than the other one. They have different purposes. They have different functions. I was talking to this guy before, and I used this example of a spoon and a fork. Do spoons and forks compete with each other? No. A spoon has a different purpose than a fork. A spoon can do something that a fork can't do. A fork can do something that a spoon can't do. Now, if you use them together and you have a spork, then you have a very useful eating utensil. You know what I'm saying? So it's not about competition. So I see this a lot in these young girls nowadays, and even in older women, where they're constantly trying to compete with men and push their way in with men. That is not what God, that is, you have fallen for the enemy's lie. You have fallen for the enemy's lie. Just know that's not how God intended for things to be handled. And so you know, even when it comes to women want to wear shirts, you know, even when it comes to, like, let me go back to the strength thing about the strength. Men and women are not designed physically the same. I don't want to play sport with a man. I mean, come on, it's a little bit unfair. Like, he's naturally stronger than me, and I'm expecting to compete on the same level where he is for something that is not my doing. I don't have control over the fact that I, as a woman, don't have as much muscle and things as he does. It's nothing to be offended about. Even certain jobs, you know, men get those certain jobs because they are stronger. It's nothing to be sexist about. Now, if you want to do the job, I don't think you should be denied the right to do the job because you're a woman, but you have to understand that your physical limitations play a role in that. If you want to push past it, I think that's great. That's fine. There's no problem with that. And men should not look at a woman who wants to do those things as if something's wrong with her. But a woman should not also look at men and feel like that she has to compete with them in order to do those things. Just do it. If that's what you want to do, just do it. And anybody who has anything to say about it, just ignore them. Like, just do what's in your heart to do and make sure you're not sinning. So that's the only thing. And so, but then, like I said, this stuff has given birth now to women wanting to, I know there was a law just passed recently that women can walk around, I believe it was in New York, I'm not sure, with no shirt on like they are men. Some women, I've seen some ads where women are naked and they're saying, you don't have to see me as sexual unless I want you to see me as sexual. There are some articles where I've read professors at school telling girls to, you know, leave the class because they were wearing inappropriate stuff. And the girls are saying, I have every right to wear what I want to wear. No, you do not. I don't want to get too passionate about this, but no, you do not. For you to say that you have a right to wear what you want to wear, I hope you understand that you are doing the same exact thing to men that you claim men are doing to you. You are not respecting who they are as men. Because a man, God created him to be a sexual being. He is attracted to women. He's supposed to be, just like we're attracted to men. If a man came into the class with a good looking man, came into the class. I would say, what's that guy's name who just did Aquaman? He's a very handsome guy, might I add. So, say he comes into the class with no shirt on and a little thong. Hey, I'm trying to read here. You know what I'm saying? It's like, have some respect for the fact that I'm a human being and that, you know, God created those things to be appealing to me. God created me to be attracted to those things. And so you should have enough respect for yourself and the other person to understand their sensitivities. Every man that looks at you and thinks that you are nice looking is not lusting. That's their nature. That's their nature. Now, are there some men that are lusting? Yes. But those men that are lusting are going to look at you like that, whether you are naked or have a sheet on. They already have a problem. So why not at least curve it as much as you can by keeping some parts as covered as you can? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't want to be distracting to any man trying to do his stuff because my nipple is showing or because my butt cheek is hanging out, and he's a human being. He's going to look at that. And so I just think it's stuff is going too far. You can't control another man's sexual attraction. And so that's what it comes across sometimes, like, you shouldn't look at me as sexual unless I want you to be. Why do you think you have a right over another person's perception of stuff? How about you try to be a little bit understanding and understand that he likes that? So can you put that away so that he doesn't have any problem? But people want to say, and a lot of young girls say, no, I don't. It's like saying, I don't care how it affects you. This is what I want to wear. And if you are struggling, that's your problem. Does that sound like a mentality of somebody who has more so evolved to understanding the rights of women that have been violated? I really don't think it's the right perspective to take on the whole thing. We have to respect each other. Men have to respect women. Women have to respect men. You have to understand men's sensitivities and try to accommodate them some, you know, and not look at it that we are sexual beings, and not look at it that for a man to do something that's totally natural to him, there's something wrong with it. Or for a woman to do something that's totally natural to her, there's something wrong with it. Like the breastfeeding issue, that's a totally natural thing. I'll make a whole nother video about that. There's nothing wrong with that. That is what we were designed to do, and we need to respect each other and give other people space to do that. And so that's the thing, you know. You have so many women nowadays, and again, I say young girls, they get so upset about this idea that men are trying to silence them, that men are trying to suffocate them, that you don't see a lot of women leaders in the Bible. Like, what is wrong with that? You need to turn the dial down a little bit and stop looking at things from this competitive standpoint, because that is going to already make you see things through a biased lens. Nobody is competing with each other. God made men to lead for a reason. It has nothing to do with or diminishes a woman's value. Just because some men do that, that doesn't mean that there's something that we have a point to prove. We don't have any point to prove to men. That are those men's problem. And as long as they kind of keep it away from me personally, I really don't care what they think, you know. And when you get in situations where stuff happens to you, something actually happens to you that's unfair, yes, you have a right to address it. But to walk around with this chip on your shoulder against men and them doing things that's totally natural to them and taking offense to some certain things that is not necessary to take offense to, I really think as a Christian, if you are a Christian, you really need to check that with God and make sure you're looking at it in the right way, because it just breeds so much division. It breeds so much offense, so much animosity, so much anger, that if you carry that type of mentality into relationships, it can cause really, really big problems, if not serious power struggles, when God created us to exist in harmony. And so, I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. I can really go into this much further, but I don't want to make this video too long. But I really think feminism has just went too far, you know, even with women now acting so sexually free, like they can sleep with a bunch of different men, just like men do to women. And that doesn't change the consequences of what happens when you do that, for men or for women. That doesn't give you more of a right to do it. Because men are doing the wrong thing doesn't mean it's okay for you now to do the wrong thing. And so we just have to really keep this in perspective and keep guard over our daughters' minds. I have 4 daughters. I always talk to them about stuff like this. They come home saying some certain things. Well, this boy tried to open the door for me, and my teacher said that boys shouldn't have to open the door for me, that I'm capable of opening the door for myself. And I just have to tell them, look, don't buy into that. If a man wants to be a gentleman, let him be a gentleman. It has nothing to do with what you are not capable of. You know you can open the door, right? So why would you get mad about him thinking you can't open the door? That almost sounds insane. Like, he's trying to be a gentleman. Let him be a gentleman. It teaches him how to respect and treat women. And for you to deny him that and then turn around and make it seem like you're not being treated fairly as a woman, it just kind of sends mixed messages and doesn't make any sense, really, when you think about it. So I really think we need to protect our daughters from this, because I think it's becoming more of an issue in today's culture. And you need to understand what's fair and not fair in terms of feminism, and not let it spill over into the devil using it to now make you be in competition with men or have a chip on your shoulder about men, because God created them just like he created us. We all have our roles. We all need to respect and love each other, and we all need to value what we bring to the table equally. Men need to do it to women, and women need to do it to men. So that's all I wanted to say today about feminism. And I'm going to put some scriptures below to kind of support some of the things that I'm saying, because I really didn't go into the Bible that much today. I know because of this, some women might want to ask me, well, what do you think about women teaching in church? I'll do another video on that one. So thank you so much. You guys have a blessed day, and I will tune in to you later. Bye.